It's usually one of these things in the morning, right? Yeah. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think it gives me great pleasure to be the keynote speaker for this morning. And of course, because this is one of our first B2B summit, we are actually pretty honored to have many of our familiar faces from the procurement industry, trade associations to be joining us here today. And this will be a series of hybrid events. As you can see in the sample, we are actually live streaming the event as well. So there are also people from Indonesia, Malaysia, as I know, who registered for the virtual Zoom event as well online. And we will be also organizing a series of events later on towards the end of this year, which is actually a B2B global summit for procurement leaders later on. Now, not too long ago, I think we will still be quite familiar of watching events from the comfort of our homes. And of course, not only are events disrupted, our lives, way of working, workspace were all upended by the COVID pandemic, right? And I think this is still quite fresh in our minds. If you imagine last year or 2 years ago, I think many of us are still working from home, doing everything of our house chores and everything right from the comfort of homes. And of course, to make matters worse, I think now we have geopolitical tensions, which increase the raw material prices. We have inflationary pressures, and of course, rising interest rates for many of the global banks worldwide. And all this leads to a lot of disruption in terms of supply chain, which many of the effects can still be felt today, from the rising cost of goods, manpower, of course, the labor, right, where you have to employ people for business operations, and of course, suppliers who may not be as willing to extend payment terms moving forward. From a corporate purchaser standpoint, and I think many of you are also coming from the procurement industry, this makes our jobs harder and more difficult as we have to balance the needs of the organization with constant pressure on process and cost efficiency. Now, with so much funding actually going into the tech world, right, you see a lot of news from Tech in Asia, from TechCrunch. The question is, are there any solutions out there that will address our pain points in procurement, supply chain, and e-commerce? Now, of course, there are a lot of tech innovations, right? I think those that survived the COVID pandemic would appear on this slide. I think this is actually a recent slide by A.T. Kearney together with ProcureTech, which is a procurement association. And in fact, if you look throughout the entire verticals, right, you can find ProcureTech platforms in the space. You can also find fintech, some of the fintech companies over here. You can find some of the marketplaces as well, I think, and also adjacent technologies that support the procurement professionals. And of course, nowadays we have also a lot of VC funding going to B2B marketplaces. I think over the last 10 years, you see a lot of funding into platforms like Shopee, Lazada, and now, of course, with saturation in the market, many of the B2C, I think recently there's a news of Shopee exiting Latin American market. In fact, I think this news only came out a few days ago. And many of the attention now is into what I call the rise of verticalized B2B marketplaces, where many of these marketplaces in the region are focusing on specific vertical. So you can actually find marketplaces focusing on MRO, for instance, versus office supply, versus catering, versus many other platforms targeted at procurement professionals, and also many of the SMEs today. Now, the true question is, with so many platforms out there, how do I actually sift through the right solutions or even a combined solution to fit my use case? Because you're not going to spend a lot of time, if you look through the slide, to go through due diligence on each of these platforms, right? Probably you heard from another person, word of mouth. There's so many marketplaces, over 30 major marketplaces in Asia Pacific, and you are not going to integrate with each and every marketplace into your procurement platform, or even to use them, right, to compare prices of small value purchases. So founded in 2015, this is a bit of sales speech on my side, sorry about that. SourceSage actually is offering a combined solution. We realize that in the procurement world for corporate purchases, whether big or small, they can't be actually sifting through thousands of different solutions out there in order to get one problem solved, especially in the area of long tail spend or small value purchases where we are targeting. Companies want an end-to-end solution, right? How can I get sourcing done, procurement done, payment done, and of course, management of suppliers all in one single platform. And as you know, many of the solutions out there, including the likes of companies like SAP, Ariba, Coupa, GDP, are focusing on big companies. And secondly, of course, they do not do the end-to-end fulfillment of goods. You can't actually buy from SAP a box of pencil, for instance. They could give you the suppliers, but you have to onboard by yourself. So the key thing is that how could we then come up with a solution that does everything in one platform, including logistics, supply chain, fulfillment, payments, but of course, not everything can be done by us. We have to partner with organizations like, funding societies on the payments and the financing piece, right? Because companies are going to still ask for 30 days or 60 days payment term or more. And how do we then settle the payments for suppliers who needs the money and cash flow to buy raw materials, right? And that's exactly what we are doing today in one single solution and one billing party. And we are proud to be serving the needs of global organizations today, like DHL, Toll Group, ByteDance, which is, TikTok, parent company, and of course, many others, including Cushman and Wakefield Service in the facility management and security space. And we are doing it not just from Singapore, but with our talented teams across Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, India, China, Australia, Japan, Indonesia, and other countries where we have local teams and entities, right? Which means that if you have a sourcing need, if you have a supplier who wants to sell, via the platform, you can actually utilize us. Instead of jumping onto 10 different platforms, we focus on every single country, which is not really scalable from an operation efficiency standpoint. And we are calling our solution the Expedia for B2B procurement, right? Where we reinvent procurement of tomorrow. And the reason why, let me explain a bit on Expedia is because Expedia is known as the aggregator for online travel, right? So if you want a holistic experience from hotels, flights, trains, everything, you can actually go on to Expedia as an aggregator, right? But if you think about B2B procurement as a combined solution today, we can actually see that, this description is pretty suitable and apt for us, because if we can combine all the small, long tail purchases in one single platform from source to pay to fulfillment, I think we would have accomplished a lot in terms of the process efficiency. Now, later on, my colleague will actually be showcasing Danny a bit more in terms of the process workflow, but let me just walk you through a bit from a general view. I think on the left-hand side, this is where all the suppliers come from. They can either be on Shopee, Lazada, Amazon, or other B2B or B2C marketplaces where they have already digitized their catalogs. So we are not going to ask them to do again and again just because they're selling to a new B2B purchaser. Now on the bottom left-hand side, you can see that our platform actually has the ability to help MNC company and individual one of them to onboard their own preferred vendors as well. So by combining all the catalogs, whether physical products or services, we can then do an integration towards the right-hand side, which is the procurement platforms of what big companies today are using. Now, of course, for the benefit of SME buyers who are buying for your daily use, we do have something called the shop.saursage.co, which we allow SME buyers to buy from, which is not white label. But for large companies like DHL Service, they actually can have the comfort of their own branding and own users to look at only catalogs they want their users to buy from. So that's a lot of compliance, visibility for their own procurement process. And in between, of course, SourceSage will do a lot of magic, whether we are sifting through using technologies like machine learning, which later we'll discuss in the panel as well, and also new technologies where the PO gets issued to SourceSage as one single billing party, and we manage thousands of supplier payments, where on the left-hand side, you would think of, okay, if I'm an organization buying from 100 suppliers, I'll receive 100 invoices. What if I can only receive one consolidated invoice? So that actually is the main value proposition from technology to operations. And we are doing it not in one category, but hundreds of different categories across office supply, IT equipment, accessories, and all the way to services like food catering, preventive, reactive maintenance, right, where bigger companies have their own facilities, right? So if you look across the road, you can see SenseTime, Microsoft, they have their own building. Think about how many purchasers they have to hire in order to manage each of these categories. And if we have one solution to reduce costs, we would have addressed the problem that was mentioned in the second slide earlier in terms of rising cost of labor, goods, and also inflationary pressure. And of course, the value proposition lies in four different areas. The one vendor model, payment term, visibility, and the ability to have millions of products integrated in one single platform where you can compare the prices across Shopee, Lazada, and other B2C or B2B marketplace in one single portal, right? And to transact with just one single party as well. And all I've mentioned earlier is not just theories and ideas, right? In fact, over the last couple of years, we have implemented for companies like DHL, Cushman and Wakefield across the region. So we are talking about countries like Japan, China. We are seeing purchase order every minute, every day as well. And we are saving these companies a lot of hours or man hours from their staff doing all this work manually, right? So if you think about before using SourceSage, they probably will jump onto different platforms, maybe use their own, card and then reimburse from the company later. How can we then reduce all these petty cash expenses while having the comfort of a compliant platform to shop from, right? And while generating all the consolidated report where they can observe the annual cost savings right in one platform, right? So as a article, published by McKinsey, I think in 2020 or 19, usually for long tail spend, if they were to adopt, a technology solution rather than doing it themselves, they would have saved around 10 to 15%. And that's recorded in the McKinsey report. As to how do we achieve that 10 to 15, I think a more realistic expectation is to look at things from two angles. One is the process efficiency, where you save on man hours, and of course they can use the time to do other things, right? Like, tactical sourcing, negotiation with suppliers. And the other one is cost savings, right? Where you can actually look at prices where some prices from some platforms might be higher in certain seasons. In certain seasons, of course, Shopee might offer a more competitive price, for instance, or Lazada or Amazon for that instance. And of course, we hope that, such solution not only applies to large companies, but today, for a lot of small, medium enterprises, together with, our partner funding society, can we then find a combined solution that fits into the use case? So later on, during the lunch reception, we do have our booths with funding society to showcase more value to you should you want to utilize our solution, even from a trial basis as well. Now, this is my contact details. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or my team during the lunch networking session, and also to Funding Society as well if you want to find out more about their solutions. And of course, right next, I'll pass back to Rachel, who will introduce the next speaker. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Jen. Next up, we have our next speaker, Mr. Danny Chua. Mr. Chua helps develop the next generation of features to streamline long-tail spend for the B2B procurement industry as the lead product manager of SourceSage. Please welcome Mr. Danny Chua.
Our platforms are sort of white label. They can be customized immediately within 15 minutes. Right. So from now, I'll be showcasing how it's done. And yeah, so just bear with me and I'll just run through the entire process. Right. So from our side, we don't have to build engineering, we don't have to sync engineering resources to build platforms from scratch. What we have done is that we can spin off a procurement platform just by having a user sign up and inputting his company details. So in this case, I'll be showcasing a quick platform that I have put together earlier today. So this is our administrator panel for the buyers of the platform. And as you can see, the moment the user signs in, right, information will be populated according to your sign-up form. So marketplace URL is also given to the user. And by clicking on it, it will take you to that URL. Right. So this is the base login site. And users can sort of, once their administrator account has been created, they will be able to log in over here. Right. So this is the UI of the current generation of the marketplace that we provide. Everything here is customizable. So from the information that is populated, like your company's logo, categories that are offered, widgets that can be placed according to your company's needs, as well as featured stores that their buyers can use, right? So all these is controlled on the buyer administrator panel through the catalog, whereby we have split open catalog vendors, which is stores like Amazon, FairPrice, Shopee, and the company's approved vendors, which could be some companies like Rico, QMT, PDS, and so on, right? So once these catalogs have been enabled, okay. Yeah. So once these catalogs have been enabled, users will be able to directly shop from these catalogs, right? And so, for example, if I were to click on Amazon, right, I'll be taken to Amazon store. And this is in line with what Jen was mentioning earlier, whereby we provide a single unified aggregated source catalog with all the different vendors that the users can see and compare their products from. So for example, if I want to check USB cables from Amazon, or maybe groceries from FairPrice versus Amazon, right? I can simply go to the FairPrice store, pull up the catalog from FairPrice, right? And then, sorry, give me a minute. Yeah, so pull up maybe green tea from FairPrice, add it to favorites and compare, right? And then we can go into the comparison page, whereby we can compare across multiple catalogs. So it will tell you where the products came from. For example, if it came from FairPrice or Amazon. So in this case, this will help users make a more informed decision when they are buying products that they need. We also allow searches. So for example, if I were to search for Coca-Cola, it will display all the products that are enabled across all the different vendors on the marketplace. So you will be getting the choice of comparing Coca-Cola from maybe Amazon versus FairPrice versus Larico in that case. And then you can just simply add them to compare. And then you will have a unified view to compare where these products, the prices, and if they are agreeable, you can simply click on the product and it will take you to the details and you can add to cart and check out. So over on the checkout page, to cater for many of these large MNC use requirements, as you know, large MNCs are not buying from they don't attribute their spend to just one unit, right? They have different divisions, different entities, maybe even different cost codes, right? So in this case, we have actually built this to be scalable for these MNCs and customizable as well. So if they have multiple divisions that they need to attribute the spend to, or different entities as well as cost codes, they can be all created on system. And then when the user needs to check out the products, they can actually just select if they have been tagged to it, right? For example, this user could be coming from this division, this entity, and then attributing this spend to a different cost code, right? So each product will also need to be attributed to a spend category. So this helps generate reports that can be used by the different procurement teams as well as the finance teams, so that it helps generate greater spend analysis that I'll show later. So let me just do a checkout. So we'll attribute this to a pantry supply September budget, and then input a delivery address, which can be pre-created, or you can create a new address for each user. So products will also require a delivery method, and each vendor will have to assign or create a logistics method as well. So once everything has been filled, the user can quickly create the purchase request And as well, they have to accept terms and conditions that can be customized on the buyer administrator panel as well. So all these are fully customizable. They can be removed if they're not needed. Okay, so from here, the user has actually successfully created a purchase request and will require administrators to approve their order. So in this case, for this showcase demo, what we have done is we've actually designated this user to be the same approver. But in general terms, it would be advisable to have someone else or higher authority actually approving this user. But for this demo, we've done this so that it can be shown quickly. Right. So once a purchase request is created, notifications go out to the users, both the approver and the buyer, that they have a new order pending approval. So the moment this is approved, it is automatically generated into a purchase order and sent to the supplier. So as the approver, I have actually just approved that order, and it will move into the orders tab for the users to view, right? So I have just placed Coca-Cola Original Taste with Amazon Marketplace. Yeah. And as you can see, the status is pending fulfillment, and we have a full audit log of what action was done by which user. So also given are the documentations, such as the purchase order file and the purchase request file. So for suppliers that come onto the platform, right, we have a supplier panel whereby they can actually log in and amend the products that are offered. So in this case, I will just log into the FairPrice store. So this is the supplier panel. On the FairPrice store, we have the orders page as well as the catalog page. So what's given to these suppliers are the ability to amend all the products that they are offering to the MNCs. Over here, we have the catalog whereby you can choose to publish or unpublish products, which will reflect immediately on the seller side, on the buyer side. If you were to amend any of the information, immediately this will be reflected and shown to the buyers so that they will not have any misaligned information, such as I bought this Coke maybe 1560 and then you amended it to 1540 and then I checked out. So that won't happen because this is done immediately. So we also offer the ability to do bulk uploads. So you can do bulk create products, bulk updating of products. And what can be given, right, to these users is that on the supplier side, you have the functionality to quickly offer quantity discounts, right? So for example, if the user were to buy, let's say 100 plus isotonic bottle drinks, right? We can offer them a greater discount. So for example, telling 100 minimum quantity and then offering a different price for that 100 quantity and above. So for the suppliers, we also offer the ability to do logistics amendment. So whatever delivery methods you offer to your buyers, they can be edited on the system, and this will also be reflected immediately to the buyers. Yeah. Okay, I'll just quickly move over to the analytics for each for each buyer. Right, let me just pull up. So this is all testing data, right? Let me just. Right, so over here we have a quick rundown of the analytics offered on the platform. We have total spend of this platform. So sorry, this is all just test data, but what you have is total spend made on this platform, average transaction amounts made on the platform, total amount of purchase orders, which can be customized according to the date that you want to see, right? You have the total registered users on the platform, amount of requests made by spend categories, amount spent by the categories, as well as charts that you can use to visualize the data. Yeah, so we also offer reports to the administrators of the panel. So let me just show that real quick. Right, so as the administrator of the panel, I would require reports that help me to view everything that all my users have done. So we can get reports from the orders section, whereby they can download all the orders, and this will be populated into an Excel file. So this is only open to the administrators of the panel, and basically it splits the information for the administrators to view what has been done on the platform. So we have the dates of when the purchase request was raised, who it was approved by, date that the purchase order went out to the supplier, descriptions of what the users have bought, which suppliers they have bought from, which categories they have purchased from, as well as the spend categories that the user has attributed to, who was the buyer, and what is the status of that order. Okay, also once an order has been placed, GRN will also have to be done by the users. And this can quickly be done once they have received the full order information. They can just quickly click here and then mark that order as received. So once orders have been fully received, they can be billed for invoice. What other information we offer on platform is also the blacklisting of keywords, such as if we don't want users to search for certain contraband items such as drugs or weapons, right? This can be blocked out on platform as well. So you just need to simply add the keywords here, and the system will automatically filter out these keywords and prevent users from searching them. Okay, so I'll run into the two more in-depth features where we have request a quote and non-catalog purchase. Right. So over here, we have quotations that can be offered to the buyers. When they click request a quote, they can quickly submit a quotation request to our operations team that will try to fulfill this information for them, right? And finally, non-catalog purchase, whereby if a catalog item is not on the system, they can quickly select information, fill it up, and make a purchase on this request, right? And once that's done, our operations team will handle this request and fulfill this order, right? So that brings about the end of the live demo, right? So I'll just pass on the time to Rachel.
Next, let me give you an introduction to our next speaker. With more than 10 years of experience in the financial services and fintech space, Mr. Anthony Poe is responsible for developing product roadmaps and growing the product through various stages of its life cycle at Funding Societies, one of the fastest growing fintech companies in the region. Please welcome Mr. Anthony Poe.
Thank you. Good morning. Let me see the All right, good morning, everyone. So the friends in Malaysia, Indonesia, selamat pagi. That's the only Malay word I know. So anyway, so it's a Monday morning. It's the topic is quite heavy, a lot of data, a lot of information you guys have been absorbing already. So I'll keep it short and sweet. All right. I'll try to lighten up the whole mood. If I can share one interesting story about why my previous company that I worked for, this CEO, he likes to organize meeting every Monday morning 10 a.m. So one day I asked him, so why Monday morning when everyone is so lethargic, so tired, weekends, football nights, Man United by the way. Anyway, so he answered, it's a long week ahead. So Monday is the start of the work week. Why don't we start our engine on Monday morning so you can get running and not waste a lot of time, and then you'll do a lot of good works through the week. Which makes sense. So for you all to be here, you're really one step ahead of a lot of folks already who might be still at home, gnawing. Alright? So pat yourself on the back, thumbs up to the guy beside you or ladies beside you. Well done. So I have to emphasize on this slide. Why? Because if not, compliance will come and fire my butt or something. So I'm only here to tell you very generic info, right? It's all general information. Everything I say here, I'm not providing you advice. Let me emphasize again. I'm not providing you any financial advice. Okay, I'm just sharing you what we have observed, all the very general information that you should know or should be aware of. Okay, so please don't quote me if you, from my slides, and then you go and do some financial investments or take up anything. I'm not your advisor. All right. Okay, so everyone's maybe a small business, you're a grown business already. So I just want to quickly touch on the 5 stages of small business growth. So this is from this HBR article written by Neil Churchill and Virginia Lewis. 5 stages. I'm thinking, what? Yeah, Anthony, are you going to talk about so many stages of company and then I'm going to start dozing off? No, I won't. Just FYI, existence, survival, success. Once you take off and mature, that's way bigger, not for me to talk about it already, all right? So today, my agenda is just the first 3 stages. Existence, survival, and success, all right? So existence, you set up your company already, 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or your 1-man show, 2-man show, all right? So your management style is very direct supervision, all right? You really supervise maybe you have 1 employee, direct orders, letting your employee know everything. Organization is very small. If this is your stage, so listen up. You extend a formal, there's no SOPs, maybe you're still using Excel, Words, there's no software systems that you're buying or and your main strategy for your business is basically to exist. Don't die lah, basically. Alright. So there are a lot of main concerns at this stage of your business. You just started. Can we become a viable business? Right? So you launch a product, you launch your services. Can we get enough customers? Can we deliver our products or services well enough? And then you think, are we ready to expand from 1 customer to more? Can we ramp up our production base, so that we are ready for more sales? Or do we have even enough money to cover this startup phase? So when you started up, everything's about money, right? So my question to you is, at this stage, what are your pain points? What makes you feel the most painful, all right? You look for startup funds, you look for relatives, you look for friends, you look for banks, you look for alternative financiers. Basically, you need funds to start, to survive. So there are loans out there like business first loans, equity financing, VC financing. VC financing are venture capitalists. Like funding societies, we are heavily VC backed, where they pump millions of money, let us run our business, and then hopefully one day they'll generate profit from like Uber, like Grab, they're all VC funded, all right? And then you might have a need for urgent funds, small businesses. You never know when suddenly you make a big break. Suddenly, hey, there's a big sale coming in. I need funds. I need to procure from SourceSage platform, right? So you look up for micro funds. You don't need a large loan. You just need a loan to buy what you need, or maybe even simply to pay your rent or salary to that 1 employee. If you want a specific pain point to really justify your supplies, there are companies or financiers that offer you credit card or credit line, corporate sense, all right, not personal, okay? So let me emphasize again, it's for information purposes only, right? I'm not recommending you to take off this facility based on your pain points, okay? So you exist. Now you survive through, okay? Your product is viable. Your business has demonstrated that it's a workable business entity, okay? So your management style might be move up to the next, where you hire a few more couple of employees, maybe you're 10, 20 now. It's more supervision rather than direct supervision, right? Organization is still small, systems, SOP-wise, maybe minimum. You start to have some funds, you buy some cheaper software, accounting software, stuff like that. Your major strategy, of course, is still to survive, all right? You just want to hope you can grow to the next stage. So if you're at this stage, good for you, right? Maybe you're 1 year, 2 years already. And then this could be your main concerns. Do I have enough revenue to break even now, right? Are we making profit or are we losing money? So if you're losing money, do I have enough funds to continue? Do I have still more faith in your product or business? You have maybe machines, for some of you, maybe you have own logistic vans here and there, repair, replacement, it's very common. You can see how commercial vans out there drive. So if you've been on the road long enough, you can see how those vans are always riding way beyond 70 kilometers per hour. So I'm sure those vans will be very sooner or later require repair or even replacements. So can your revenue cover this repair or replacement, right? So now you have sufficient funds. Do you want to grow even bigger? Everyone wants to grow, want more cash or more revenue. So would you want to grow from a little plant to a big tree, all right? Take on even bigger projects, large contracts, big MNCs, sales contracts you want to go and secure, all right? So here we are. CapEx, OpEx, by the way, is capital expenditure and operation expenditure. So CapEx are like more on your fixed asset. OpEx is more on your salaries and rents, or more daily recurring ones. So you can look for working capital loan, bigger loans. We are talking about more than 100K, 200K, 500K. In fact, even micro loan is pretty applicable to you in a sense whereby you don't need so much loan, just enough to tide through 6 to 12 months, sufficient. Or OD, when you need it, withdraw, you pay what you use, the interest, and you just continue to roll until you have enough money, then you pay down principal, right? And then we go down to a more focused pain point. Your suppliers, as I mentioned earlier, why when you're in a smaller stage, they only offer you a credit card or credit line. So it's very common out there where financiers will take your age or how big your company is before offering more facilities to you. It's very, very common. I'm sure you've been there. So now that you grow a certain size, you have some records, good revenue, there's this thing called AP financing line, your accounts payable financing line, whereby this financier will give you a line up to 500K maybe to let you buy your products, and then the financier will pay your supplier directly. So you don't need to fork out a single cent to buy your supplies. And there's this buyer financing, which is a bit more complicated, where we call it the anchor suppliers, in a sense where we help the supplier to finance all their buyers. So these are just some facilities out there that you can tap on. I shall not go too in depth into it. And then there are another very common pain points, customers paying late, your end customers, right? So you secure a big contract, someone wants to buy a lot of cables or IT products from you. But then they'll tell you, I only pay you 60, 90 days later. Can you say no? You can, but will you want to forego this sales, this revenue? No. So you can use this thing called invoice financing line, the AR. So you can see paying suppliers is AP, accounts payable. Paying your customers paying you is accounts receivable, right? So invoice financing line basically means once you invoice your customers, you can use this invoice and go and draw a certain percentage of funds from a financer, 60%, 70%, 80%. So if you invoice your end customers 100K, you can get 70K upfront instead of waiting for 60, 90 days to wait so long. Shorten your cash flow cycle. All right. And then there's a supply financing, means we have to supply, we have to finance you as the supplier. So these are just some of the facilities out there you can tap on, right? If you can look at the screen, I purposely categorize them into different pain points, all right? Very common, SMEs out there, Taukes or whatever, once they like to go to a financier or banks and then say, hey, I want to take loan, then, okay, why? Because I like that, you know. So usually they don't know what type of specific facilities there are out there, right? All they know is take a working capital loan. But think about it, if I take a working capital loan, maybe I don't need 200,000, but I just take 200,000, I'm paying interest on that 200,000, I might not utilize the full 200,000. So all these specific facilities can help you to manage your finances properly in the sense whereby you're only paying what you used, okay? Really target your pain points, okay? Now, you survive. You are successful already. Congratulations. Your management style is just functional. Maybe you have few good managers to help you run your business. Your organization size is mid. Maybe you grow more than 50 already. Your formal systems, you have basic good SOPs out there, softwares are there. Maybe you want to even develop more software, all right? So in success, there's 2 stages. Your major strategy now, do you want to maintain where you are? Or do you want to grow further, grow bigger, ambitious? Do you want to exploit your company's accomplishments and expand, or basically just keep it stable and profitable? You know, sit back, relax, retire, go play golf every day. I don't know. All right? So, but I want to talk about growth, because no point talking about maintaining. Maintaining, you don't need me to tell you what you have enough money to run your business really. All right? So growth, you want to bring success to the next stage. If you can recall my first slide, 5 stages, right? And today I'm only talking about 3 stages. So number 4 stages is take off, rocket ship, because you really hit that growth. Then the last stage is maturity. So now I'll talk about from success, how can you go to taking off? It's growth. So in one hand, you want to make sure your business, your ongoing business is good. The other hand, you want to maybe explore another business to expand, growth. So you need to ensure your basic business doesn't outgrow your growing business. You know, you take on your good man, you consolidate your resources, talent, and then you go and focus on this growth part, right? But just ensure that your ongoing business doesn't outrun the growing business, okay? So you have to basically ensure your source of cash doesn't get outrun. And then you need to hire top executives. They're expensive. Recently, the new tech talent is paying the pass of minimum 30K per month. Wow, it's a good time to be in tech, man. So anyway, so hire top executives for the company's future rather than its current condition. And then now you grow to a big 3 already. Remember, just now it's a small brand, now you're a big 3. So do you have enough sufficient funds to further increase your product, your services, to even larger contracts? You are going regional, you're going expansion to other countries. So do you have enough funds to do that? So what are your financing pain points at this stage? You're so big already. There are even larger working capital loans. We are talking about 1 mil, 2 mil, 5 mil even. So there's a thing called venture debt. This facility is up to 8 mil. All right, it's really helping companies to grow. A larger OD line, maybe you can place some fixed deposit with the banks, and then they give you a very good 2 million OD line for you to use. Fixed asset loans. You want to buy property, commercial property. You want to buy more machineries. So there are a specific facilities out there that help you buy fixed assets. Not everything is working capital loan. All right. Paying your suppliers, now you need to buy more supplies. You need a bigger line. There are larger AP financing line. I'm talking to mils. All right, buyer financing, as mentioned earlier, is basically anchor financing. I won't go too deep into that. It's a really complicated cycle. And then, of course, you have a larger invoice financing. You have more end customers. You don't only have like 3, 4, 5 really. Now you have 10, 20 customers. Imagine this, 10, 20 customers all pay you late, 60, 90 days late. Man, your cash flow cycle is going to hurt so badly. All right. So what I'm trying to say today, end of the day, I hope to take this back with you. What is your pain point? Touch your heart. That's why I put a heart and an arrow there. So what is your pain point? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Short and sweet as consistent.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Anthony. Let me just help him emphasize that he is not giving financial advice.
Thank you.
All right, now we have our event highlight. Please allow me to invite the previous speakers to the panel, Jian-Min, Danny, and Anthony. And we also have a special guest for today. Please allow me to introduce Mr. Jorge. With more than 25 years of international experience in mostly senior leadership roles in procurement across Vodafone, Maxis, and currently Telenor Group. He is also the chairman of Procurement Council of Supply Chain Asia. Please welcome our special guest, Mr. Jorge Fernandez.
Okay, I gotta get used to sitting on a high chair. All right, thanks a lot for the introduction just now by Anthony. I think it was very useful for many companies, and of course, welcome back for all the panelists, and of course for the kind invitation to Mr. Jorge as well, who is able to take his time off to join us. So as mentioned, I think Mr. Jorge has years of experience in procurement and of course supply chain, having worked in multiple companies and now with Telenor and the president of Supply Chain Council in Singapore as well. Now, maybe I'll pose the first question and maybe 2 questions per panelist, and we will break for any questions from the audience, including for Zoom as well, because we have our attendees from Indonesia and Malaysia and other countries. So my first question is to Mr. Jorge. Welcome. Now, from the corporate procurement standpoint at Telenor and the past companies you have worked with, and also with your corporate members at Supply Chain Asia SCA, what do you see as some of the key trends in B2B procurement digitization? And what are some of the key challenges you foresee in companies trying to adopt these solutions as well? Over to you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this session, to this event. It's really my pleasure to be here. And I will do my very best to share basically the knowledge, the insights of what I see in the procurement and supply chain industry, especially in the space of digitalization. So there's your question. I think today there is a high focus first on embrace digitalization, how we may become more digital, how we may become more agile, how we can secure that we really have end-to-end visibility leveraging from the data and the insights that we have in procurement and beyond procurement, right? In our entire end-to-end supply chain landscape across the entire ecosystem of supply chain operations. From this perspective, I'm coming from a major telecommunication group with operations in Europe, in Southeast Asia. We tend to deal with large multinational organizations, Apple, Samsung, Google, Huawei, large technology companies. For them, working capital, financial position is not the main challenge, but we also work in the B2B segment quite extensively in our space in enterprise with new startups, with new companies. That means financial support, for which we need to have a different understanding of how we can really facilitate procurement operations, even supply chain operations, right? From this perspective, what I see is that more and more our peers in the industry are seeking really to embrace new digital technologies that can really facilitate, for instance, financial transactions, leveraging from data insights in order to really facilitate payments. Improve working capital position for these small entities is essential, and to really have smart systems and technologies that can help us to leverage from is also key. Your solution, SourceSage, is today innovative in this landscape in the sense that facilitate the adoption to go to market and to implement the solution, because this was one of your key questions. What is the main challenge that I see? And when I speak with my peers, many of them see the value of digitalization, but also the effort to really deploy the solution to facilitate adoption. And I think your solution is a good example of how we can simplify the way of working across the ecosystem with suppliers for our own people in operations to secure that we can start to get the advantage and benefits of digital solutions. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you very much. And of course, I think, just to add on to that, sometimes for, engaging with companies, people may see it as a cost or whether it's an investment, right, to simplify, and just a change in terms of mindset. Now, of course, you briefly answered the second question, which I'm going to ask, but maybe, for a solution like SourceSage, for instance, which you mentioned, could simplify things. How do you think we are positioned in the digitization roadmap? Having worked in procurement for many years, right? You have the indirects, you have the directs, and you have different aspects of the entire supply chain. So how do you see a solution like SourceSage could be positioned in the roadmap, and how can it be useful, right, by combining with other solutions? Yeah.
Basically, what I see is, if I go deep into the subject of digitalization in procurement and supply chain, what I can see is that today, we all talk about digitalization, but the industry and the procurement and supply chain function itself is not yet there, right? Most of the solutions that we can find out are tactical solutions in the space of source to contract or in the space of procurement operations, where typically in the industry, we call it the upstream of solutions to really source and the downstream of solutions to enable digital catalogs to procure, right? Including also the way we manage our account receivables or account payables. The question mark is, what is the potential, what is the value digitalization can really bring, right, for the business? And the more I see is new solutions in the space of artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, automation in the sales in procure to pay that will really drive efficiency, productivity, and value in the scope of digitalization. All these are big words, right? To see more or less an holistic view of where we are today. Now, coming to your question, when I look at your solution, what I see is, if I think where the industry will be in 5 years from now, I truly believe on an ecosystem of different companies, many new startups, and major players in the space of procurement and supply chain that will offer a kind of a scenario of procurement as a service with digital solutions and also with people and capabilities to offer these services. That is what I see your solution is innovative in the sense that, for instance, for me, a solution like SourceGate can perfectly address my long tail. And maybe my long tail is an area of 1 billion euros spent, right? And 1 billion euros spent, these are major words, right? But typically we focus on the other 20 billion euros spent that we have that are highly strategic. The digitalization of this long tail, the adoption of a solution that can facilitate us to have better visibility in price, simplify transactions, and take the right decisions out of this 1 billion spent can drive significant improvements in whether operational cost position or even from aspects of working capital, especially in today's situation of price and prices, right? And thinking 5 years from now, I truly believe on that. More companies come into the space of procurement and supply chain, offering procurement as a service. I can figure out your company will keep growing successfully in this area. And I also see how technology will facilitate what I tend to see like an artificial intelligent hub, right? A hub of different solutions where any corporate, whether a large company or a medium-sized company or a small startup company, can really connect digitally through internet and get access to a cloud solution that offer services tailored to their needs in the scope of procurement and supply chain.
Thank you very much. And of course, there's a new word we all learned today, which is procurement as a service, right? Because not all are about solutions and platforms, and sometimes it goes down to the ground level, which is the service we are actually providing to our target audience, and that of course includes things like payment term and financing. So my next question, of course, is to Anthony. Funding Society now is a very successful fintech company with presence in multiple countries. So what do you see from a product perspective as some of the key success factors that led to traction and scale as a tech company?
I wouldn't say very successful. My co-founder wouldn't agree. That's why he's still drilling us every day. But anyway, from product perspective, why it's attractions for funding societies is, as what Mr. Fernandez mentioned, simplify. So in funding societies, that's the goal that we are always trying to get to. Simplify, easy, and fast. All right. A little bit of product roadmap or whatsoever not. We listen to our users. So as I mentioned so many times today, pain points. We've spoken to so many SMEs out there. I personally have spoken to a lot too. To understand their pain points, very generic questions. How do you run your business? What do you do? Where do you find financing? How long do you wait? What is your main rank 1 to 5? What is the most important? Content, interest, speed of assessment, everything. So based on that, we hear them, we come out with the product, and then that's how we stay in the game. Fast, simple. For example, one of our products, let me sell a bit of Puyo here. It's a micro loan. As fast as you can just apply online, right? So digitalization is a buzzword today a lot of times. You don't need to meet us face to face. You don't need to meet our RMs. You don't need your physical signature at all. All you do is go online, submit your documents. Maybe the next day we'll come out with an offer to you already, just like that. Sign down the offer. We can disperse the loans as fast as within 24 hours. So that helps us to near successful company. Fast, simple. Yeah.
Thanks, Anthony. Now, over the last 2.5 years, where we have COVID and a variety of issues, but at the same time, there are also opportunities for fintech companies like yourself, new fintech firms, and also traditional firms to up the game in terms of providing financing solutions or solutions to SMEs and larger companies. What would you say in terms of some of the growing trends in this area of fintech that you see over the next maybe 3 years?
Of fintech.
Yeah.
I think you really also the fast and simple rule applies. So another one is flexibility. All right. So assessment wise, we all know traditional financiers are very strict in their assessments especially when it comes to younger companies, 1 to 2 years old. They don't really want to bet an eye on you. Maybe they just give you a simple financing. But does that really address your pain points? So one good example during COVID, when COVID hit, let me share a little bit of story if you don't mind. In 2020, early 2020, when COVID first hit, everyone went into panic mode. Masks, sanitizers, stuff like that. So there is this customer, in fact, it's my customer. I used to be an RN, by the way, and then I transited to product manager. So my customer came and said, hey, I got this big contract that I secured, that I newly secured, and it's worth near 10 million. His own bank, I wouldn't say which bank, not supporting him, all right? I'm talking about commercial banking facilities. So imagine this, you have a 10 million contract. The amount of funds you need to buy your product is huge. It's in millions. I'm talking about millions. Impossible. You buy $1,000 worth of product and you can get $10 million. It's never, that will never happen. Maybe. All right. So the banks are not supporting him, came to me and said, can you do something about this? So I brought this back, discussed with my credit underwriters, my country head, even my co-founder is involved because we are talking about millions of funding to this company to help him finish his project. So what I'm trying to say here is we were flexible. We didn't say no. We said, let's bring this back, let's analyze, let's look at all angles. How can we secure this? How can we make sure that everything runs smoothly and also speed? Because he needs to deliver the products within 3 weeks. And then he comes to me and we did it. So in fact, we never even give him a working capital loan. So as if you can recall earlier, not everything is working capital loan, right? We provided him a revolving line, credit line. So he buys in batches. So once he buys this products, we fund this amount, this amount, this amount, this amount in stages. Instead of, if I give you straight away 3 million working capital loan. Are you going to utilize properly? Are you going to misuse the funds? Are you paying unnecessary interest on full 3 million? So end of the day, I think flexibility, speed is really the key to the next fintech growing stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, now over to Danny, who is also a product manager at SourceSage. From a tech standpoint, since I think Danny has been involved in implementation for integration of procurement platform for ByteDance, which is TikTok, they're using their own system. Toll Group in Australia, DHL across 10 countries, DBS, who is using the external procurement platform, Mitsui, and some other companies. What do you think are some of the key challenges you're solving for companies today in terms of the main denominator, and what are the main value propositions from a feature standpoint? Yeah.
So after working with these large MNCs, I would say that they have generally moved in these two main pain points. The first is lack of transparency in their employee long tail spend. So employees tend to go out, and then when they buy, let's say, stationery or pantry resupply, right? They buy it and then they maybe use the company card or they pay cash out first, right? And then they do a reimbursement for that purchase. So this comes under petty cash, right? And it's not quantifiable or maybe just say in the account books, this goes into petty cash, right? It doesn't go into pantry supplies or say stationery, right? So what we've done is that, remember on the product demo just now, we actually built the cart page, the shopping cart page, to allow users to attribute that spend to the proper category that helps the finance team or the procurement team realize that these products, that this spend is actually going to the correct category. Yeah. And the next pain point was that during the checkout phase, right, when a user attempts to buy, let's say, pencils or pens, right, they can't make the most informed decision because, from my own AVLs, I only given these prices, right? I can't basically compare them outside with the external marketplaces like Shopee, Lazada. There might be a better deal, right? Somewhere, maybe on the internet, right? So in this case, what we hope to do and how we hope to do it is through machine learning, aggregation of products, matching these products with the correct model, right? What we hope to do is to provide this information real time to the user on the shopping cart so that they say, this product, my AVL is offering me 150, right? I could probably get it based on platform information. The average market price for this could actually be maybe 145, right? I'm now informed, right? My decision is an informed decision. Yeah.
And of course, I think having seen a few familiar faces here, we have audience coming from banks as well. So, and people who are in the cards business, right? I think with Funding Society launching the Elevate card. So, one of the key features I believe that we have also launched in terms of SourceSage is the ability to accept cards payment, for MNC companies, because they would have already been issued corporate purchasing cards. So, unlike of course in the past where many of these cards could be under T&E, right, travel and expenses. In fact, during COVID, because that has reduced drastically, many of them, of course, have explored ways to increase card transactions through long bill spend, right? And we are seeing an increasing trend. So in fact, one of the key clients is a global technology company, and there are very few global technology companies, is actually attempting to use cards payment as well on the platform in order to buy across 10 different countries, right? And the value is that SourceSage is able to bring not just the level 2 data, but level 3 data in terms of what they are buying, not just what is reflected of where they buy on their credit card statement, but individual PO line item. And this will result in a consolidated report, regardless of where they buy from. And I think that's a very, instrumental, feature change on our side. Now, we mentioned a lot in terms of the cost efficiency aspect, right? The price comparison and all that. What do you see from a process efficiency standpoint as well, from the features of SourceSage? And of course, how do you think that can actually benefit many of the SME, sellers today or suppliers who can tap on all these features to, maybe sell more to more clients worldwide? Yeah.
Right. So for smaller SMEs, right, it's difficult to become an AVL for large MNCs. Right? You have to go through their entire KYC process, and then based on you have to offer them bulk pricing, which may or may not be, how would I say, it may incur a loss for you, right? Because you can no longer compete with larger companies against pricing for these MNCs, right? So the idea is that SourceSage wants to allow you, right, to come online as a supplier within our aggregated database, as long as your product, any product, right, you want to sell to these MNC is a product that these MNCs might need, right? You can offer them any price, right? It doesn't have to be special, doesn't have to be maybe discounted, right? Even if your product is unique, right, you can list it in the system. And when they search for this, right, let's say I want to buy pencils or pens, customized, right, a unique one, right? This can be offered to the MNC when they search it. So it's like as long as you're on the database, you can be found, right? So this helps our smaller SMEs, right? You no longer have to go through that tedious KYC process, right? You do a SourceSage, maybe a flexible KYC, something like Anthony has been saying, right? Right, a flexible KYC whereby we just go through the standard, not so standard process, and then once you're onboarded, your products will be offered to these MNCs, right? Also, for these MNCs, right, we also offer a single consolidated invoice. So let's say they are buying from multiple suppliers throughout the month, right? What they see at the end of the month is a single invoice coming from SourceSage with all PO lines that have been bought, right? So this will also help the MNC finance team when they're making that payment, right? And the other thing that I would say helps smaller SMEs, right? The cash flow problem, right? I need to get paid for this immediately. So what SourceSage offers would be we can pay that invoice upfront to you, right? And then while at the same time we offer the MNC maybe 30 days, 60 days payment terms, right? So this will help you sort of grow your business, I would say. Yeah.
And I think that's a very good example of how we work with financing solutions, because at the end of the day, SourceSage is not a trading company nor a financing platform, but we actually have to utilize opportunities like this to create an ecosystem of solutions, right? Where financing platforms like funding societies could integrate with us from a process standpoint as well. And of course, last but not least, I think all things equal, there are MNC right now that are trying to buy from many of the preferred vendors, including those in the FI, financial institution or insurance space. And as of what I heard, sometimes because of the risk and governance, it's very hard to onboard new vendors. And many companies, of course, have KPIs to restrict the number of approved vendors within their platform itself. So with that, if SourceSage could actually be a medium or channel to provide opportunities for more SMEs, the question is why not? Right. Now, we still have bits of time to take questions from our physical audience and then later on Zoom as well. So maybe to start off, any questions from the floor? Anyone who would like to direct questions, and I'll hand over the mic. Any questions?
Only one question from the side.
Okay.
I mean, it's relatively good platform, something new that I come to know. Thanks for inviting. I understand that you mentioned the process from the beginning is more of the 1 week. Well, as you know, when you get products, sometimes you may encounter cases where the products are not of the type that they sent or delivered, or there could have been some defects. How do you then tackle the part about the returns, the refunds, and the expect them between the seller and the platform? I'm looking more to the aspect of business logistics. Yeah, incidentally, I'm in the supply chain industry, so I'm more keen to know about this aspect. The one-way flow for the buying, the procuring, and the requisitioning, that part is quite straightforward. So I am not sure whether the rest of the audience here would like to know, but I'm interested in knowing about the part of relating to reverse logistics. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I guess either myself or Danny can answer this. So maybe let me add in my point. I guess this comes under maybe more of exception case handling, where there are wrong attributes, different colors and different quantity, partial fulfillment. So in the case actually over the past couple of years when we're dealing with many of these MNC, and that's the reason why we do have local teams to really, from an operations standpoint, to solve these issues. SourceSage is actually not just a one billing party. Now legally, because we are the one paying on behalf to the suppliers and acting as an intermediary. So all the things relating to refunds, returns has to go through us as well. Now to the extent, of course, when we had this large order for over 1,000 packs for IT accessories and equipment, the warranty also has to come under us for the liaison and liaising with the buyers as well. If they have issues with iPads or certain things, yes, they can go through us and we will help them to resolve such issues. So I think for exception case handling case, SourceSage, if we are the one counterparty to pay on behalf of the MNC first to the supplier, then we will be actually solving that by working with logistic companies, right? And I think today for many of the B2B or B2C marketplaces, there are huge logistic companies that I think we have worked with in the past, and also for the marketplaces. Yeah. And of course, maybe Danny, if you have anything to add on for that from an operations standpoint.
Yeah. So we actually have built integrations with supply chain logistics companies, right? And in the case of returns, right, we actually have the ability to trigger, say a technical term, right, a call to an API call, right, which is actually requesting information or requesting a pickup from the logistics company to go down to actually pick up the item and send it to the correct, let's say if it's a defect, right? Could you go down and pick it up and then send it back to the agent or the distributor? Yeah, so I think we actually have done this a couple of times, right? When we have defect iPads or defect IT accessories, right? We actually engage these logistic companies to go and do a pickup and return it to the distributor. Yeah.
Just to add on, maybe Mr. Jorge.
No, I think I was about to add, it's a very good question, because at the end it's a matter of fact that we have to consider the importance to have visibility into our end-to-end supply chain, right? Beyond the processing we use source to get the products available, what you are seeking is to have the best available product at the right time, right? There is much more than this, managing your supply chain, your logistics. And that's connected with one of the key messages that I highlighted at the beginning, right? We think that the industry is evolving into a scenario in which we will leverage from new technologies that are already out there, right? But visualize 5 years on the road, a Singapore-like city, which is a smart city, right? With hyper-connectivity towards 5G, IoT, Internet of Things. How easy can it be to track, or feasible, not easy, feasible can be to track where our products and services are? There will be an opportunity to have probably intelligent warehouses, simply to have a vision of what the future can be. Right now, what I see is, if I go back to today's present, when I see a solution like SourceSage, what I see is the ability to really integrate, right? Any information that we have in this platform, our data with external sources of data in this hub of potential artificial intelligence we can find tomorrow. When a new company, a new startup start to operate today with such kind of digital platform solutions in place, is like an at-home of new solutions to really start to orchestrate your entire supply chain, right? You can have better control of the quality of the products that you receive, and you will have a better control of where these products and services are at any point of time, right? Digitally. I think what we need to measure here is what is the ability of any solution, in this case SourceGate, to really integrate the data with other platforms, right? And secure that give you more visibility of your end-to-end operations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jorge. Any other questions from the floor? Or people who wants to direct a question to Anthony or Mr. Jorge?
One more question.
Sure.
It's another question that I do not find. So how do you differentiate yourself for this solution in terms of B2B e-commerce that you are introducing today with other platforms that are very proliferated already? Example, Amazon has already started the shopping kind of experience as a seller. Shopee as well, Lazada as well. And it gives me the impression that your platform is in between, because you're coming in between with a portal as a middleman with all the other so-called the big players, Amazon, Lazada, Shopee, Shopback. So how do you position yourself in this aspect? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry, your name is? Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Joanne. So I guess the question, if our audience online hasn't hear about it yet, I think it's more about the differentiators of SourceSage versus other B2B or B2C marketplaces, right? I think there are a lot of this platform. Now, I would say that first differentiation is that from a B2C platform standpoint, there's of course nothing stopping, as what Danny mentioned, employees going online to buy and then do the reimbursement later. But I think from a procurement, they are trying to cut down that kind of leakage in terms of spend outside of their visibility. The second part, of course, is that if you today buy from the likes of Shopee, Lazada, you are not guaranteed a tax invoice. Now, from an MNC finance standpoint, one of the key, I think criteria for finance is firstly local billing. They hope to pay in local currency. If let's say DHL Malaysia is buying, from local marketplaces, or Amazon is not available, right? So they might be interchanged for another currency. The second thing, of course, is that if they were to buy from Shopee, any of the sellers in Singapore today, they may not receive a tax invoice, right? Which then creates a problem. So SourceSage, in some sense, helps with some of these smaller pain points. I wouldn't say that these are big, huge problems, but some of these smaller pain points. The second thing, of course, is that there's a difference between B2B versus B2C marketplaces. So Amazon, for instance, they have two established entities. One, and you guys can check Amazon Business. They are called the Amazon B2B arm. And the other one is Amazon on the retail side, which is what I think everyone knows today in Singapore, in other countries. Now, Amazon B2B was only established in 2015 and only has, I think, presence about 7 or 8 countries as of last statistics. So North America, I think over 6 countries in Europe, plus Japan, and I think upcoming is India. But the rest of, I think, Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific doesn't really have a presence for Amazon Business yet, which means that, Amazon Business, which could provide payment term to companies, is not readily available, which then gives, I think, platforms like ourselves, entry into the region. Secondly, even if, the likes of Amazon Business is available, companies like DHL would have to consider attempts to integrate with each and every marketplace in different regions. So one of the key things that was before using SourceSage, they were actually trying to integrate with the likes of Bukalapak in Indonesia, JD.com in China, which is like the equivalent of Alibaba. And also in Japan, it's like Monotaro, and then Southeast Asia, they were looking for some party. And the end result was that they felt, hey, if I have to pay to my procurement technology platform a cost of integrating in each country, what if I can save all the time to integrate with an aggregator like SourceSage to streamline long tail spend, which they are not supposed to spend a lot of money and time on as well, right? So I think SourceSage is coming in as a higher value proposition to larger companies versus smaller companies, because larger companies usually value things like visibility, compliance, saving of time and cost, and audit trail in terms of reporting. And smaller SMEs and companies could, of course, still buy from the likes of Shopee and Lazada, right? Because it's probably just more like, okay, if it's more convenient to buy from here, the business owner could use their corporate card and then pay on the platform, versus larger or medium-sized companies where they have presence in a lot of different countries and they would need a solution like SourceSage. So I would think that SourceSage is positioned from a target audience standpoint, mid-sized to larger companies, probably above 100 mil, probably with presence in multiple countries, and they would value a corporate purchasing platform like SourceSage with marketplace aggregation, and thus reducing the time for integration with each and every marketplace in every region. Now, of course, the last point is that, I'm just giving time, but the last point, of course, is that from a reporting standpoint, we mentioned about the tax invoice, and second here is the level 3 data. Companies or smaller companies, usually if they buy something, it's more or less one-off, if not small volume, right? They typically will not say, hey, Shopee, could you give me a reporting? Hey, Lazada, could you give me a report of what my employee was spent, right? Because usually smaller companies, just the business owner. But larger companies would need to have, usually when we engage with DHR and the rest, like a report, a level 3 data report where different cost center, different employee spends on different items. And that's when I think the whole value proposition of SourceSage comes in, where regardless of the platform you buy from, so long as you pay to SourceSage via credit card, corporate card, or maybe by bank transfer, then we will be able to know where are the spends coming from, and then to plot out the heat maps of the different spend of different employee, different cost center in different region and countries, right? But to smaller companies, probably that may not be as valued as a feature, I would say, in terms of the solution that we're offering. Yeah, and of course, the exception case handling, if the volume is high enough, now we are having thousands of invoices from our key clients per year. That works out to be maybe 5 purchase orders per day. Small companies is not able to have that kind of volume, but for bigger companies, an aggregator solution could help, to ease up a lot of that operational burden and workload for their staff, right? Because somebody got to do the work. It's either the purchasing manager, procurement manager, or someone. And then Mr. Jorge maybe can add on what's the workload looking like for indirect spend.
No, I think you highlight very well in the sense that for major multinational companies, right, when we need to focus on an opportunity to address with solutions like SourceSage, is very much today this long tail, right? As I mentioned, long tail, typically within long tail is a very operational aspect. We don't need to focus on multiple suppliers, but it can be very strategic, right? Because there are many opportunities there to do the right things. From the perspective of compliance, how you qualify your suppliers, how you monitor your suppliers, from the perspective to really achieving price efficiencies in almost near real time, getting to know what your employees, your people is doing, especially across different countries, locations, right? We can write a book about long term and the value that we can find for. Then I think, for me, something important to add here is the concept of partnership. I think to deal with companies like Amazon Web Services, Lazada, and other major multinational organizations today, it's not that easy. And to find a partner that can really help you to tailor the solution to your needs, to understand more your business needs and help you in this journey of adoption and deployment, in my opinion, is also key and instrumental. And I think this concept of partnership, especially coming from the perspective of procurement, strategic supplier relation management, and how we can really find in our ecosystems those that can help us to do things better according to our needs, is essential. When dealing with these mega players, Amazon and others, you will feel that you follow a standard commercial approach. They are the best probably to leverage from the scale. They have the muscle for, but in customer focus, probably you can find more value out of the partnership relations.
And the keyword, I guess, I heard is flexibility, which brings me back to funding society. And one of the key questions coming from the other region online is that how do you think funding societies today's position in the market? Because you presented about SMEs, right, from a financing standpoint, and of course you have traditional financial players looking at the mid or the large size companies from a card play standpoint. So how will you think funding society is in, and would funding society go into the larger corporate space here? Thank you.
Thanks for that. So if I talk about visionary, my co-founder has talked about how funding societies will move to be a neobank, hopefully in the next couple of years. Neobank in the sense by we don't only offer lending facilities, so that's why Elevate has been launched. We are going to even further more products, reaching out to more SMEs out there. So we can't do consumers, by the way, it's licensing issues. So FYI. So also banks, not saying that we are competitors of banks or we are rivals and so like that. That's why I mentioned in the 5 stages earlier. I only talk about the first 3 stages because usually the first 3 stages are the ones that really have problem getting financings from traditional financiers. So what funding societies is doing here is to help SMEs to grow to a certain size, and then they can get financing from the bigger boys, of course the banks. So we are not here to compete with them. Banks can offer larger quantum, more attractive interest rates. So that's where we believe funding societies will continue to be in the near future, to be a good partner of the traditional financiers, and we are not here to steal a pie or whatsoever. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, answers.
I guess it's more towards ecosystem play, right, where everyone has their role, and sometimes it's complementary, and the whole game is really to grow the pie rather than to take a slice of the pie for everyone. Yeah, so thank you very much to the panelists. Now I will hand over to Rachel.
Thank you to all the panelists and the exciting questions from the audience. So before we move on, Mr. Jian Min would like to present Mr. Jorge and Mr. Anthony with a token of appreciation for being here with us today. I'm going to take a picture.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2. Okay.
Thank you, Lo.
Absolutely, it was a very